So what we're going to do here is we're going to have a panel of specialists. Actually, not specialists, chapter leads. Sorry. Chapter leads from the APAC community, okay? We're gonna spend some time taking turn asking them some questions based on the thoughts and the discussions that's happened today, right? And at the end, I'm gonna give you guys a chance to ask them a bunch of questions that might be harder than what I give them, okay? Please start thinking, okay, of the questions you wanna ask. So based on today, discussion here, what I like to understand is I see that a lot of people are coming back and saying, there's a real need for real-world evidence, and there's a significant impact of what Odyssey is doing in that space, right? So what I would like to understand is, can you describe the significance of real-world evidence generation through all these different Odyssey studies that you guys are doing in your countries? Because we've seen a lot of them out there and we heard a bunch of them here, right? And then what is your chapter doing to better promote some of this? Okay, so what I'm gonna ask is every single one of you to come up here and give a 1 to 2 minute brief answer. So I'm gonna start with Mornin, because you're right here from Singapore.
Okay, hello everyone. It's me again, Morning. As Marie mentioned, I'm the Singapore chapter head. I'm now with the National University of Singapore. I'm a faculty there leading a healthcare AI lab. So I come from a data science background. So about the impact of what we are looking for from this Odyssey community and all this cross-institute study coming from a data scientist perspective. What I noticed from a lot of observational study, as some of the audience also asked the questions, there can be so many potential biases in our study. Although over the years, like Jack presented a brilliant study, we've developed many tools, many models, many methods to address many of these biases. But nevertheless, I believe that those efforts are very valuable, but we're still not doing enough, right, to further enhance the reliability and again to slowly gain trust for the medical community to embrace the evidence coming out from observational study. And for me, one way to really do that is not work in a silo, not just in a data sense, but also in a model sense, right? It means that in a collaborative setting, not just we are sharing data, have federated learning, but at the same time, I want my partners, don't just be friendly people, smile at me, but be very critical partners, looking at my codes, looking at my study designs, looking at how I address my balances, looking at all the potential systematic errors in our study design, and remind one another, right? That's one thing I would like to cultivate. In Singapore, very quickly, I know time is running out. What I promote is that just want to share some exciting news with everyone. We managed to convince our Ministry of Health to adopt CDM as the national standard for all clinical research data, right? Not for operational data, but for research data. And our Ministry of Health is building this platform called Trust Platform. That's supposedly to integrate all electronic medical record data from all the public institutes in Singapore and also all the cohort data, including Gustos and other like Singapore 100,000 genomics research data in the same platform as well. Later on, of course, when I have more time, I'll come up and share with you again. Okay, thank you.
Amazing. Now you're like trying to steal thunder for the next question, but I won't let you do that yet. So he's already behind me. I have Professor Liu Lei, yes, from the China chapter. I was looking for him, but he's behind me already.
Okay, I'm from Fudan University. I'm representing China chapter. The China chapter is really, we're trying to promote this Odyssey, as I said during the lightning talk, because China is so big, and then there are so many different, vendors and different systems, and it's hard to really get the OMAP unify the whole country. But we're trying, at least in Shanghai, there are two major universities. One is Fudan, one is Jiao Tong University. And most of the hospitals are affiliated with these two universities, either with Fudan or with Jiao Tong. So at least we try in Shanghai, within the Shanghai, the city, maybe we can do something. And then right now we're working on to build a network of Fudan affiliated hospitals to adopt OMAP model. And hopefully, we can really make it work, right? So, and put an example to other universities, other hospitals, and then they be able to adopt this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I got Professor Yu from Korea.
Hi, I'm Chan from Korea, and we ask two questions about what we are doing for and what the RWE means in our country and how we try to promote it. So first of all, why we are trying to generate the real world evidence. So because the golden standard evidence for medicine is the results from the clinical trials, and most of the or majority of the clinical trials actually are conducted outside of the Asia Pacific regions. Most of them are actually generated from the Western countries such as Europe or America. Even though the clinical trials that guarantees the internal validity, but it does not guarantee the generalizability of the results beyond the trial population. And many times, Asia Pacific population are not covered by the clinical trials. So that's why we need to leverage real world data and real world evidence to format our clinical guidelines. And how do we promote it in Korea? So in Korea, we built the AMAP CDM network already. So we more than 50 institutions in Korea actually have the AMAP CDM databases inside their institutions, and there are many publications or studies are ongoing by using this network. And one of the biggest challenges to conduct a study is the getting IRB approvals for each institution. So that's why we formulated the so-called research free zone. So it means that if there is one IRB approved or exempted the study, then the other institutions in the network actually approve or exempted that decision from the IRB in another institution. So we don't need to get additional IRB approvals or exemptions. This is one of the fundamental innovation of Korea, which is led by Professor Park in Ajun University. And sometimes, actually, I highlight the how we can make a reliable evidence, and which is addressed in the previous presentations by Jack. We do have the very suite of the diagnostics. And I sometimes just recommend not to conduct some studies which we cannot answer to the clinical questions with reliability. So sometimes the observation study cannot answer to certain questions because sometimes we do not have enough sample, or sometimes we do not have appropriate comparator, or sometimes we cannot define the outcomes or the cohorts of our interest. So these studies usually have to be answered by the prospective study or interventional study, not with the current available data. So that's how I'm trying to promote the promote RWE with reliability in Korea. Thanks.
All right, then we got Professor Hiramatsu from Japan.
Hello, I'm Tatsuo Hiramatsu from Japan. I'm the leader of Japan. This is Japan. But actually, Japan, there's no Odyssey on-map network yet. So the big news this year is we have established a new association to promote on-map network in Japan. So to do a federation. So we got from this year we're gonna build a network for in Japan. So really expand. And the other big news is this year the 3 other people is coming from Japan. last year I was the only one in Taipei. So the internet researchers. So they are now interested in Odyssey and OMAP and investigating what they are going to do for using standardized data. So that in Japan, things will be changed, I hope. Yes, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right, then we got Professor Jason from Taiwan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jason from Taiwan chapter. And this year I will start from the last year because last year I was very happy to have many of us and many of you to come to Taiwan to attend the symposium. I think the symposium is the most important chance for us to promote. Yeah, so after the symposium, we have more and more people in Taiwan who want to join Odyssey community. So you may know that TMU was the first organization to run the Odyssey OMOP common data model, and now we have many other hospitals who want us to support to using the ETL to support them to convert the database to OMOP common data model right now in Taiwan. So we hope that we can have more and more hospitals, more data in Taiwan in the future, and we can work together. And this year, I also try to promote in many hospitals in Taiwan and also industry, like pharmaceutical companies in Taiwan. And some of them are very interested in Odyssey, and they not only just want to know how the real-world data from Taiwan can give us evidence, but also the international one. So they may ask us to do more international collaborations with you guys, and then we can generate the real world evidence in the future, and then to answer the clinical questions. And we also have a society. We established a foremost society in Taiwan about Odyssey, and we also work with some members in other hospitals, and to have a conference like big data about the healthcare conference, and we can use that many conferences, and to promote Odyssey in Taiwan. And last time we also invite Nicole to give us a very good presentation virtually, to present and to help us to promote Odyssey. Okay. Today is also another important day because we have totally 6 people from Taiwan to join today's symposium, and we think this is the best place for us to learn the updates from other countries, and also to have interaction with all of you guys, and we can learn how to run the Odyssey better in the future in Taiwan. Thanks.
Of course, we can't forget our host country, right? So, Australia.
Okay, I think I win. So last year at the Taiwan Symposium, I think there was 1 Australian there, and that would be me. And this year we've got 50 Australians, maybe more. So I think we win. But in terms of what we're doing to promote Odyssey, obviously this this is it. I'm really proud that there's so many people here today from Australia and looking at the work that can be done. We've done lots of work within the Odyssey community, but not necessarily with Australian data. And I'm really hoping that this symposium and the groundswell that will happen from this symposium will be that we actually contribute our evidence to that global effort of generation of the evidence that all the consumers need, regulators, clinicians, and so on. So I'm going to leave it at that and just say thank you all very much for coming. And this is it. We've got promotion happening, and now we need to continue with our Odyssey Australia chapter. Thank you.
No. Before you leave, right, on behalf of Odyssey APAC, I want to say thank you to Nicole and the faculty here for putting on this amazing symposium and this amazing conference. We asked last year, who's gonna, anybody want to sign up, right? She immediately raised her hand, and I know the amount of work that they've been putting into it for the last half year and how anxious and how much stress this can be. So please, big round of applause for Nicole and the faculty staff. Woo!
Thank you. All right, can I sit down now?
Yes. All right, for the duration of time, you guys can stay seated, okay? I just need some exercise from you to get your blood flowing, right? So, all right, the next question that I want to ask really is from, earlier today's talk, you heard that trust and communication is very important and a gap that's actually missing from the research that we do in Odyssey, right? So can you elaborate a bit more based on what you've heard this morning, what you guys might go back and do within your community and within your chapters to bridge that gap between, the Odyssey members and other organizations such as regulators, consumers, physicians, any of the above? Anybody? You guys have mics on you.
So one of the things that's happened for me just today, actually, is that I've been talking to the consumer representative, been talking to some clinicians, and also, just talking to researchers. And they all are saying, can we get around the table together? Can we get around the table? Can we have a meeting to help set some priorities or some questions that we might like to answer? So I think what's come from this is that everybody is willing to come to the table to get the evidence that they require. And then we just need to work out how we actually go about doing that research and how we then get that back to the consumer. The other thing I learnt is that perhaps I can do a bit better at communicating the research. So, and again, having that dialogue with those consumers of our evidence is really what has stood out for me in this symposium. So that's what I plan to do.
Amazing. Anyone else want to try that question?
Okay, maybe I'll go next. So for me here, one of my tasks is to offer free labels from Singapore. I'll share with you why. As I mentioned, at the national level, we do have the vision to map all our national clinical research data into OMOP-CM. However, for those veterans who have done it, this is definitely a non-trivial task. Takes a lot of manpower, takes a lot of time. So we are still in the process of doing that for the past 2 years. So actually a lot of our physicians and also data scientists in Singapore, they're very eager to join various Odyssey studies. However, in Singapore, unfortunately, we don't have that many data sets fully mapped to OMOP yet, so that they may not be able to have their hands on the Singapore data doing all this research. Nevertheless, I would very much like to get them involved in the existing studies or other studies in other parts, and especially learn from all these more advanced teams, like so for example, the South Koreans, the Australian teams, they've done it many times, and so that a few purpose, right, for the physician to see how the studies are done, how well thought the study designs were, and also for them to think about what question they can ask, even without Singapore data, and also for the data scientists to learn from our veterans what are the actual practice, like we mentioned, Nicole mentioned, what are the right recipe to do, or what's the wrong recipe that kind of proven to fail that our young data scientists in Singapore should avoid doing. So as I mentioned, if anyone open or keen to get them involved in the study, to drop me a line. I'll be the middleman. I'll just link you up with the physicians, the young physicians, young data scientists, for example, Mukesh and Cindy and Yizi here with me. They'll be very eager to join your study. Thank you.
Can I ask the Singaporean team to stand up? Because you're being sold.
Yes, sorry.
So,
I kind of promise on their behalf without asking for their consent.
I just want everybody here to see
Yes.
who they are, because it's an auction right now.
Yes, Cindy
your
and Yizi, yeah, please stand up. Yes.
All right, so
yeah.
if you guys need help, supposedly he's selling them off. Okay?
Yes.
Highest price, to the highest price.
And first come first.
Anyone else?
Okay, I'd like to add, so in China, the situation is where I think we need more education. The education, there's multiple sides. One is to tell physicians, all the physicians who's doing the clinical studies, they need to know about the Odyssey and the OMA model. And also their management, the hospital management, and let them know, how the Odyssey works. And then, most of the management in hospital in China, they are worried about the data security, right? So they don't want the data being used and approval. So, and another thing is very important, I think, is for the students. So I just want to mention that, I'm actually in last semester, my class, I teach like undergrad studies, undergrad students. I put 5 weeks of course time for the Odyssey, and so actually they learn, from the undergrad level they can learn that, but those students actually is a small class. It's about 50 people. But next semester, I have 300 people.
Wow! Are they also up for grabs?
No, they are the future doctors, right? They actually clinical study students. So the reason is because the people who are in charge of education, they see this class and said, oh, this is good for the clinical studies, for the clinicians, and so that's where I'm gonna put more about Odysseys, about all the clinical analytics, and then I think that's more important to educate the future doctors. Okay, thank you.
Amazing. Really, are they up for sale? Anyone else? Yes, Jason.
Okay, I have been always thinking about what can we provide to our customer or the industry, and because the pharmaceutical company, they want us to have the immediate data and to give them some information based on the data, and I think we can provide some evidence about the prescription pattern or the efficacy and the safety of the medicines, and also some disease, the nature disease progress, something like that. And also, but we needed to have our co-workers, more and more hospitals, more and more data to support and to work together. So what is the incentive for the other hospitals? I'm always thinking about that, and I think the doctors want to do the publication, and also they want to do the international or not international, cross-hospital co-workers, and to have the publication. And also, if they want, they use machine learning to predict business model, and they want to have external testing from the other hospitals. So if we have more and more members in our network, we can do that. And yesterday I went to I went to Sydney Opera House. Yeah, I listened to the symphony over there, and I think the most important of a good performance is harmony, right? So the harmony is important because rather than the solo for only one musician, but the harmony can to have a more power, more energetic result to people, more impact to let people, the audience to enjoy that. So we need to have more hospital to join us, and to like using the common data model, and to because the foundation is important. We need to support other hospitals to have to using the ETL to help them to have the common data model with the OMO system, so that we can just like a symphony, and we can have a better performance in the future. Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay. I got a few more minutes, and I actually have a whole list of questions, but I won't ask mine. So I'm going to give the audience a chance. Do you guys have a question you want to ask one of these chapters? See, I already see hands up. Yay. I'm trying not to put you guys to sleep. Don't worry, we're almost there.
I'm handing the microphone.
All right, we got bargaining from mics too.
Thank
here.
you. COVID showed us how powerful the translation of community messaging can be. We saw it in the positive, where trained clinical practitioners with the gift of the gab, that's an Australian expression which means they could communicate in a common language with the people, and how effective they were. And then we saw people who were doctors like me who try to say the same message but got bogged down in detail and caveats and all the stuff that we've been talking about, the methodologies. You know, we need to work out who are the communications experts, and it's probably not us. So I would just recommend that when we go to form these partnerships, that we collaborate with the right cohort of people that actually understand the right messaging to give, and how to simplify without actually giving the wrong message or taking out important detail which is hard to understand. So I think that's probably what I would like to say. Thanks.
Totally agree with that. Anybody want to chime in there? Besides everybody nodding?
Yeah, it's not easy to understand the results from the Odyssey study. So even though we transparently open our results to the public, but I'm not sure even the academic editors, I've never seen the editors actually understand what we did. And even though we underscore that our results is available at the website, I've never seen a editor who actually visit that website and see the results. Every time they ask us that, please take that pictures on the paper rather than just make it available on the website. Yeah, we acknowledge that it is hard to understand, but we are trying to communicate with the public. So we do have several members in artistic community, in global community, to communicate with others through the SNS, YouTube, Twitters, and LinkedIn. But I agree that we need more and more, especially in country-specific, country dedicated. So I need a Korean dedicated communicator with between the Odyssey and the public. And I think that many of countries need some of those venues.
But I think even if you get communicators, I think your point is right? For people like me who are not medical or a researcher, half the stuff you guys say are over my head, okay? It's taken me 7 years to learn all your lingo, and I understand it to a degree, but ultimately, what does that do for me as a patient? I still think that, what the consumer said earlier, advocate said earlier, all the graphs that you guys showed, yeah, over my head too. Okay. I just need to know, does that medicine work for me or not? And what's the side effects, right?
I'm just going to make a really quick pitch. Maybe we need a common language
There we
from
go.
our common data model so we can actually communicate in a common way the results of our study. So maybe another work group.
Any other question from the audience? Song, can you bring the mic up, please? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much to everyone for the excellent symposium. My name is Hiramatsu and I'm a participant from Japan, one of the 4 that's only here. First time coming to an auditing symposium. So I have a question about how close, in your feeling, is Odyssey to a regulatory approval use? I know that it's an observational model in the name, but I think that, and I'm sure that it's very much useful for post-marketing surveillance, catching up safety signals. Jason, you just mentioned like natural history studies, but knowing that the data, because of its nature, it could be messy. You have all these methods that you've created, but how close do you think they could be actually used in terms of a new regulatory approval? For instance, repurposing of a drug that's already been approved that could be used for a new indication. I'm sure that's where there could be a signal that could be collected from Odyssey. So how close do you think you are with your regulatory agencies?
So one of the potential of using observational data for approval of new drug or a drug for the new indication is that using this data as a synthetic arm for the trial. So when in the rare conditions such as rare cancers or rare autoimmune diseases, we cannot have enough power, enough samples across the world for the target and comparator or placebo. So sometimes we can leverage observation data as a placebo control group, and then it might be unethical to have phase 3 trials for the rare conditions because we do not have it does not guarantee the revenue, and then we cannot let people just die without any additional benefit. So we can use it. I believe it can use this for that purpose.
All right, I think we have one last question. Yes.
Okay, I'm on.
Yes.
Thanks for a wonderful day. It's been really fantastic and very thought-provoking. The panel can take this as comments rather than questions, given the time, but 2 things really keep coming back to me. It's very clear that the workforce here needs to grow. We need to get new disciplines in, particularly around comms. I think everyone's in agreement with that. But we also need to be able to retain the very good people that are part of this community already. And so what are the strategies for us to do that as a global community? We need to keep young talent excited about what this is about and supporting them to dig in to this community. The second thing that's really interesting is I'm putting up my hand for your workforce that you offered earlier, but then I start thinking about the practicalities. So in Australia, for example, if I'm travelling overseas, I can't tap into our data offshore. So there's a whole heap of legislative barriers that are being put in place at the moment that won't allow our community of practice to really engage. And I wonder if there's been any thinking around that issue as well. I know these are both complex things, but I think they're things we're going to have to tackle going forward to... Okay, everyone's bored. I'm handing...
That was self-inflicted. You were leaning on the... you saw yourself out.
It's okay. Everybody in the back was trying to... Does anybody have a reflection on that?
Okay, yeah. I feel like I prepared Pat. I feel like Patrick probably can address in a global perspective. But I understand your question, right? Practicality. While Singapore researchers, how do we, with all these restrictions, how do we work with other people's data? My response is that, like I mentioned, not just the data scientists, the physicians as well. So actually, they are eager to contribute any way that they can contribute to. For example, from a physician's perspective, I guess they can discuss about the different practice in different countries and how the hypothesis can be shaped to cover, or more importantly, maybe to discover these biases or disparity in practice in different countries and how they affect the patient's outcome, etc. On the hypothesis at the study design level that they may not need to physically touch the data. On the data scientist, it's a little bit more tricky, a lot more complex, I understand. But same thing as I mentioned, we are there to help for whoever that needs them. Maybe they could develop the model without seeing the real data. Of course, the local team will have to then take on and then customize it to their local data to make it work. And which is beautiful, right? Because it's actually, like I say, I want my friends to be critical people that criticize my code and also work with me at the same time. Rather than just I pass you a piece of code and just take it happily and run it and hopefully things will work. We want a deeper collaboration that exactly as I mentioned, that they will exchange ideas, codes, and then work together and contribute collectively to the same belief, right? So with that, like I say, I probably arrow to Patrick to give a more, or other people, yeah.
So,
30 seconds.
So how we can retain good people in the community? So since this community is based on the contribution, so the good thing about the Odyssey is that we do not. This community is based on the contribution, and the bad thing is that we do not have any, financial incentives or politics to support them. But actually, that's why there are many people, good people in the community, and we have to contribute to each others to improve our understanding about the healthcare systems and the drug safety or effectiveness. That's how we work together, and why we are here in Australia to promote our activity further in this continent.
Just a very quick follow-up to that. I think there is a way to keep people. It's the network. It is the network of people that we have within our community. It helps you build you as a person as well as your career, right? I'm going to put the elephant on the room. There are people in here that are companies, right? And, we look, and it helps to promote yourself, to get yourself better at your career development, as well as the network of really wonderful people that you see in here. Nicole? Okay. All right. Sorry, I got to cut it off. I'm 3 minutes behind. So thank you very much to the panelist group. And please.
And sorry, may I say one last thing?
2 seconds.
2 seconds. Okay, I understand. I have a third task on this trip, okay? I'm not sure you guys learned. Great thanks to Nicole again for organizing such a beautiful symposium this year. Next year, it's going to be in Singapore. Okay, yes, Singapore 2024.
You ruined the surprise.
Oh, there's a surprise. Okay, anyway, since I already ruined it, I'm not sure when you guys register for this year's event, you read the fine prints. What the line says that when you register for this amazing Australian APAC symposium, you automatically sign up for the Singapore symposium next year, right? So, we have all the recordings. You can see I use AI to recognize everybody's face. So I'd love to see all of you in Singapore around end of year next year. Singapore with beautiful weather, beautiful food, beautiful people. Okay, look forward to seeing all of you.
Excellent. Okay, and on that note, I thought I'd start a new tradition in Odyssey APAC and hand over a baton to the new. So please come to Singapore next year, and I want to see you wearing that in the poster walk.
Put it on. Put it on. No, you got to put it on. Somebody take a picture. Pose, please. The Asian way. Do the bigger heart.
Okay, Nicole, if you don't mind, come in, then we do a heart shape around.
Oh, we do a heart shape.
Awesome. Thank you
Good
so
luck.
much. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to hand this back to Nicole and Patrick for the closing.
Great. All right. Let's see how we go here. Okay. All right. Well, we're at the end. In true Odyssey style, we have to have a closing ceremony. So last year, Patrick and I were in Taiwan. We went and had a look at the 101 Tower and went up the top and looked around, had a wonderful time. And as Patrick did, he said, let's go, and get a drink. So we did that and we hatched a scheme. So we're going to see what the scheme is all about. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare to close this event, the 2023 Odyssey Asia Pacific Conference, I wanted to leave you with a thought, a metaphor, that I believe encapsulates our journey together in our pursuit of real-world evidence. So being here in Australia, a country known for its excellent craft beers, the analogy of the beer brewing process seems quite appropriate. So imagine, if you will, the raw ingredients of beer: malt, hops, yeast, and water. Each on its own has potential, but it's not until they're brought together, carefully nurtured and processed, that they form something greater. This is much like the data we handle every day: raw, disparate, and perhaps unimpressive in isolation. But it's what we do with this data, how we treat it and transform it, that allows us to unlock its potential, to turn it into something truly substantial, evidence. Okay, the brewing process is a beautiful symphony of science and art, and in many ways, our work is too. Just as the brewer carefully selects the grains, the hops, the yeast, we choose our data sources, our methodologies, and the questions we wish to answer. It's a delicate process of refining, filtering, and fermenting. Just like the brewer, we wait patiently as our algorithms churn, distilling the evidence from raw, chaotic data, transforming it into structured, meaningful evidence. So just as each beer has its own flavour profile, each piece of evidence we gather has its own unique context and meaning. Some might be strong, impactful, altering the course of patient care. Others might be subtle, a quiet nudge towards a new hypothesis or different approaches. But each in its own way contributes to the rich tapestry of medical knowledge. Of course, brewing beer is not without its challenges, and neither is our work. There can be delays and bottlenecks and missteps, but these obstacles do not deter us. Instead, they drive us to be creative, to innovate, and to refine our methodologies. Just as the brewer learns from each batch, perfecting the recipe, we too learn from each study, each analysis, each review, constantly improving and constantly growing. Lastly, let's not forget that beer is meant to be shared. It's about community, collaboration, and connection. Just as beer brings people together, our shared mission of improving healthcare through observational research unites us. We're not just individuals working on separate projects. We are a community, a team, leveraging our combined skills, knowledge, and passion to create real-world impact. So, as we leave today, remember, we are brewers in our own right. Our ingredients are data, our craft is science, and our brew is evidence. But the beauty of our brew, unlike beer, is that it doesn't just bring joy, but also it brings hope, progress, and the possibility of a healthier future. So let us continue to brew and share and savour the fruits of our labour. Remember, every step in our journey from data to evidence, just like the brewing process, is a chance to learn, innovate, and improve. So, thank you all so much for attending this conference. It couldn't have happened without a ton of people. Thanks so much to the Odyssey APAC Steering Committee, Mui, who is the head, the Odyssey Australia Local Organising Committee. I've had so much support from the ground here. It's been absolutely fabulous, so thank you so much. And Odyssey Global as well. So Patrick and Mark and Martine, Azia, everybody has helped along the way and offered so much support, reassurance, Patrick, and just help. So I am forever grateful. But the most important person in all of this is Catherine. Catherine's been an absolute rock. and a rock star. So I just really thank you so much. I've got to be teary. Anyway, the sponsors as well. It has not been possible without the help from the University of South Australia and the University of New South Wales. Without those two institutions, this just would not have been possible. So thank you so much. The Medicines Intelligence Centre of Research Excellence, which is a fabulous collaboration led by Sally Pearson. It's been a wonderful experience and a real groundswell of people doing pharmacoepi in Australia, and hopefully now Odyssey in Australia as well. The ARDC, who, as I mentioned before, is sponsoring tomorrow's workshop. That's a fabulous investment in progressing, Odyssey in Australia and capacity building in that area as well. So thank you so much. And of course, IQVIA for sponsoring the lightning talk. So thank you all so much. Okay, maybe Okay, now this is where we get to the good part. So there are a couple of other people I'd like to thank. And they are ChatGPT and Dream Studio. So every single word I said in my opening speech and my closing speech was made by ChatGPT. Oh. So Patrick and I, schemed up this idea, and we said, okay, give me an opening speech for Odyssey, APAC Symposium, using the idea of crafting or recipe for crafting evidence. And I got that entire speech. The same for my closing speech, entirely. Did not edit it in one way. Amazing, right? Amazing what we can do with the new technologies that we have. Not that I'm saying we need to do everything with ChatGPT. Sorry? Yeah, well, actually, we could perhaps do lay summaries now with ChatGPT. So anyway, we just wanted to fully disclose that the opening and closing speech were generated through ChatGPT, and every one of those pictures, I mean, they weren't great pictures, but every one of those pictures that went with the words actually were generated from the prompt from the ChatGPT speech. So you can see that there is just so much that we can do now with this new technology. Okay, so here we go. Let's see if this works. I'm hoping. So we have a new collaborator at Odyssey Australia, but Odyssey more generally, and it's this guy. This guy is called Denim De Silva. So Denim De Silva is a collaborator at the Australian Institute of Machine Learning. And I'm really hoping that this video will work, but if not, I'll just have to tell you about it.
Hi, my name is Denim De Silva. I'm co-founder of Deep Liquid, where we provide powerful but simple AI to the beverage industry. What we do is we put the power of AI into the hands of the customer. What we found is that when you engage the customer and they create products and services using their own data, it engages them and provides a level of trust that has been hugely beneficial when we're creating products such as tasty beer. And while that engagement and that trust is wonderful for us, I can't think of an industry where it's more critical than the healthcare industry. So I'm really, really proud and pleased and excited that we have this relationship with OHDSI. We hope you really enjoy your beer. Don't forget to review it, as this will feed a neural network, and that data will be used to inform our decisions going forward. Have a great conference. Enjoy your beers. Cheers.
So we have our own Odyssey beer.
Wow.
Right. So that formally closes it.
Spectacular.
That formally closes our symposium. So thanks again to everybody, from the cameraman to the caterers to Catherine in particular, to Tash, to everybody, and Anna, everybody on the ground here.